Today we have the esteemed pleasure of introducing to you Miss Merlyna Valentine. Miss Valentine, she is an international speaker, she's an author, she's a consultant.
Retired after 30 years of having served as a teacher, principal, and executive director in the extraordinary successful school district in Louisiana. It's featured in several news segments and articles, including a spotlight in Ebony magazine. Inspirational story of survival, courage, and hope.
It is our pleasure and our esteemed pleasure to introduce to Prairie View A&M University, Miss Merlyna Valentine.
I am excited to be here. I know that change chose me, and it's amazing to feel like a champion because I learned to manage the change before it managed me. And so I want to share a message with you today. When I think about the word change and hear the word change, I also think about just the mere sight of the word change and how for so many that evokes strong emotions, feelings of overwhelm, frustration, anxiousness, and even fear, especially from the people who will be most impacted by the change as they begin to wonder, what will this change require of me? And so change has been something that I've had to deal with. A little over 16 years ago, I had all those feelings when change chose me. And I remember it vividly. In an instant, life as I knew it was forever changed. And I was left to figure out, what will you do now? I began to question things about change, like how is it that when some of us experience change, our first response is always that we resist it. Yet others find ways to embrace the change and allow it to become transformational. And why is it that the adversity that often accompanies change, some of us are unable to persevere through those things, yet others fight diligently to prove that adversity is not invincible? And these are all questions that we should all want answers to, because in life, change is inevitable. It happens frequently, it happens often, and we have to be able to have a process for dealing with the change. And so we want those answers. And what I found on this journey is that the answers to those questions often lie in how we view change and whether we see it as an obstacle or an opportunity. Well, today I want to share my insight in what I've learned in going through a process of changing and being able to be the change in so many cases. And then I want to infuse it with a huge dose of inspiration from my story of survival, courage, and hope. My journey through change began right here. This is August of 2005. I am an elementary school principal in my first year as a principal. And my school is right outside of New Orleans, Louisiana. I mean, I had a brand new suit and a radio. What else did I need to lead the school, right? I was ready for that challenge. I'd been in the classroom for 17 years, and so I was ready and so excited for the new school year. We kicked off the school year on this day in August of 2005. But we surely had to re-kick off our school year several weeks later. And why was that? Hurricane Katrina, absolutely. Now, our school district was very fortunate. We did not sustain a direct impact. And so we became a welcoming school district for many displaced students and their families. I had 650 amazing little scholars prior to the storm, and we took in 100 additional students that school year. And my staff was used to very small class sizes. And so my job now as the leader was to help us navigate through this unprecedented time and figure out how we could become a source of inspiration and not another source of trauma for our students. We had to welcome them and make them feel like they were a part of our school family and that they would succeed at high levels under our expert care. We pulled together. And in unity of purpose, we were able to make that the most successful school year ever. We worked hard to ensure that everyone had their needs met and that we could provide the right climate and culture for all students to thrive. At the end of the school year, I gathered my 110 employees together and I said to them, thank you. Thank you for making this first year for me as a principal one of the best ever. And it was all of us working as a team that made this possible. And I continue to share with them all the successes and how they were an integral part of it. And then, at the very end, I had the audacity to say out loud, now, whatever life has for me after this, bring it on. I'm not scared. Well, let me caution you. Do not ever challenge life to a battle, because life will show up and show you exactly who's the boss. It was 2 years later, August of 2007, and I was at Meet the Teacher Night, welcoming my families to a new school year, greeting the parents, greeting my new students, and just excited about the opportunities we would have that year. And in standing there, I had an excruciating pain in my right side. I was doubled over, and my custodian was standing next to me, and she said, oh, I know you hate going to the doctor, but you're going for this one. I did not disagree with her. I knew it needed to be checked out. And so on the following day, Tuesday, I went to my own personal doctor. And I said, you know, I have this pain and I'm going to need you to fix me quickly because tomorrow is the first day of school and I cannot miss it. I am the principal. I think I need to be there. And she said, okay, we can't fix it in the way that you're talking about, but we have a treatment plan. You'll be seeing a specialist on Friday, and he will tell you your course of treatment. And I said, great. She said, let's figure out what's going on. And that day I was diagnosed with a kidney stone. Raise your hand if you know anyone that's ever had a kidney stone. See, in every audience that I'm with, it's usually close to 100% of the people who know someone or they themselves have experienced a kidney stone. It is so common. I said, that's it? A kidney stone? I'm not scared. Tell me what I need to do. I'm ready to fight. I have to be at work tomorrow. And so I left there with her permission to go to the first day of school as long as I had no issues. On Tuesday night, however, I became violently ill. It felt like the worst case of the flu ever. And so I visited the first emergency room. And after several hours there, with no real answers, I was told maybe the flu, likely a virus, here's some medication, and follow up with your doctor. I said, am I able to go to school tomorrow because I really need to be there? And they said, well, you need to check in with your doctor, and if you're feeling up to it, it should not be a problem. I left that hospital full of hope that I would be there. But on Wednesday morning, that first day of school, I wasn't there. I could not lift my head off the pillow. And so I visited hospital number 2. And after many, many hours, I was finally told that I would need to be ambulanced to hospital number 3, a larger campus with more specialized care, so they could figure out exactly what was happening. After many hours at hospital number 3, things took a turn for the worse, and I went into major organ failure. All of my organs shutting down, my heart, my lungs, my kidneys, all shutting down. And finally, they came in to tell me that they needed to ambulance me to their main campus where I could receive critical care. On that ride there, I kept thinking to myself, I have a kidney stone and maybe the flu or a virus, and now I'm in an ambulance to the 4th hospital. What is going on? I had no idea. When I arrived at the 4th hospital, I heard the doctors saying to the nurses who traveled with me that if they had gotten me there just 30 minutes later, I would not be here with all of you today. Those were the last words I heard. I was then put into a 7-day medically induced coma. That fateful night, my family was told I had a less than 10% chance of surviving the night, and that if I survived the night, and they emphasized the word if, life as I knew it would never again be the same. You see, that kidney stone had a mind of its own. It blocked my kidney. An infection was ravaging my body. And I was experiencing something called sepsis. I did not know the word and what to look for until it happened to me. And I also did not know about that less than 10% chance of surviving. And I'm so thankful for that. Because standing here at Prairie View A&M is someone that is 100% alive and thriving, wearing the colors of your university to celebrate. Now, I'm going to tell you I won the battle, but the war was still raging on. I spent 3 weeks in the intensive care unit on a ventilator. I spent months in the hospital fighting and clawing my way back, fighting to get to what I love to do in this life and being able to live a purposeful life. You see, because of the sepsis and the treatments needed to save my life, I was forever changed in an instant because I became a quadruple amputee. I lost both of my hands and both of my legs below the knee. Now, let me tell you this. Many people, especially those who did not know me very well, expected this to be my defining moment, where the tragedy would decide how I get to live the rest of my life, that it would dictate the quality of life that I would get to live. Well, if you know anything about me, and you will by the time we're done today, that tragedy would never be my defining moment. It could never tell me how I get to live the rest of my life. I'm a fighter, and I believe in what we have inside of us, the human connections that we build and the resilience that we can tap into when we're faced with struggles such as this. And so I decide the defining moments in my life, and so can all of you. And for me, it came 2 years to the date of when I first became ill, August of 2009, when I did not just walk back into my school as the principal again. That is too ordinary. And slowly you will figure out that I am pretty extra. And I couldn't just walk back into that school. I'm right outside of New Orleans, Louisiana. So this is what you saw. I second line all the way in, letting them know I was back and I was ready to take the lead and that nothing was going to stop us. And that is where I begin this journey of understanding when change chose me, that I was in control of what my response to that change would be. And there is the change that I want to share with you today. So when I think about it, I want to frame my message today around what I call my 3 Ps. They are 3 things that were instrumental in me building the sustained endurance I needed to fight through all that adversity, to beat the odds, and to live this life of purpose. But there are things that I know will be beneficial to everyone here, because in life we're going to face adversity and we're going to encounter challenges. And what we must not do is allow those things to dictate to us how we come out of them. The choice is up to us. And when we leverage these 3 Ps, we'll be more than well equipped to continue to live a life of purpose and meaning. And mine begins with the word possibilities, and how having a mindset that is focused on possibilities allows me to live an incredible life every single day. See, a possibilities mindset is one that is forward thinking. It's solution seeking. It is growth oriented. And it is also something where it allows me to intentionally think about the opportunities inside of every obstacle and the possibilities inside of all of the problems and my potential to overcome adversity at every turn. It is also the driving force in me being able to come back from the brink of death to where I am today and to do things in a way that I had never imagined. Now, it's crazy to think for me that I have a possibilities mindset, because the most frequently used word in my presence during my recovery was the word impossible. I heard it every day, sometimes multiple times a day. Most of it came from the people who met me in the midst of my tragedy, and they did not know me prior to me becoming ill. They had never worked with a quadruple amputee before. And that was good because I had not either heard of a quadruple amputee that had made it through what I'd been through. So we were in the same boat. And they kept talking about things so that they could prepare me for my future. I remember one doctor coming in and having a conversation with me, and he said, "Can we be straight with you?" And I said, "Absolutely." And he said, "You know, what we want to do is to share with you worst case scenario for what your life might be like in the future as you face multiple amputations, so you'll be prepared." And I said, "Okay." And as he was sharing things like my quality of life would be vastly different and that doing the things that I love to do in life were going to be nearly impossible because I might not be able to, and definitely not do it independently. But the one that sunk in the most was when several people told me that being principal again was nearly impossible. The job is far too demanding, and with your physical challenges, you may want to think of doing something else in education. And that one hit me hard. And I kept thinking, and while they were sharing these things, a smile came across my face. And I remember one of the doctors saying, "So, Merlyna, is there something that we need to know? Like maybe you want to seek the support of a different kind of doctor?" I think they thought I wasn't processing everything that was going on. And he said, "You're smiling and you seem very okay with everything we're sharing. And there's some pretty, tough challenges you're going to face." And I said, "No, the smile is real. I'm processing everything. But when you share that the future could be something that I should prepare for and that it will be worst case scenario, I don't see it that way." I said, "I am alive. I get a second chance at life. And so every day that I live will be best case scenario. And the rest of that stuff, I'll figure it out." And they looked at me in very much a state of shock and surprise. And I said, "I'm ready for whatever that brings, because I know that impossible is a matter of opinion. It is not one that I possess, because I am a believer in proving what's possible in the face of the seemingly impossible. It's about possibilities." I started thinking about the future differently and planning out how I could address the challenges I would face. And doing something else in education, not an option. I am an educator. I will always be an educator. And I wanted to be principal again. And that's where I set my sights. And although they did not intend to plant these seeds of doubt and fear inside of me, that's what started trying to grow, take root and grow. And I said, I can't accept those things. And then I remembered the voices of people who knew me very well. People who were there with me from my humble beginnings to know how hard I fight for something when I really want it. Their message was very different. They said, if anyone can come back from this, it'll be you. If there's anyone who will reclaim their quality of life, it will be you. And my superintendent of schools sat at my bedside before I had any amputations. And he said, "I hear you want to be principal again." I said, "I really do." And he said, "Okay, I'll tell you this. Whenever you're ready, the school will be yours." And I looked with a little bit of surprise because I had not even had one amputation. He didn't know what I could do. And he looked at me and he said, "You seem surprised by my response." I said, "I am a little." He said, "But let me share with you why I can say that with such confidence." I said, "What is it?" He said, "These are going to be 4 words that I want you to carry with you every single day from this moment forward. They're 4 words that I mean from the bottom of my heart because I know you that well." And I said, "Well, what are they? Because I need something to hold on to. I need that anchor of hope in my life." He said, "These 4 words that I want you to take away from our time together today, and I want you to use them every single day." He looked at me and he said, "I believe in you." That's it. 4 words. I believe in you. And those 4 words completely changed the trajectory of my recovery and the way that I live life now. I use those 4 words with others every chance that I get. But more importantly, I look myself in the mirror every day and I say to myself, "I believe in you." And I go out and make it happen. Those are words that can shift everything about what you do. And what I started thinking about was, I could have spent all my time focused on the people who were doubting me, the people who thought I could not come back from this, people who questioned my capabilities in being a leader again. I could have spent all my time thinking about them. And as I'd done for the many years prior to this tragedy, whenever someone did not believe in me, my main goal was to prove them what? See, I knew it. You think like me. I wanted to prove them wrong, right? Anything I had inside of me was to prove them wrong. Watch what I can do. Just watch me work. I can't wait to show them what I can do. But in this case, that wasn't working. Why? Because these were people who were not invested in me long term. They were going to be with me while I was in the hospital or shortly thereafter, and then that would be it as far as their connection to me. My success would never be known by them because they would never see me again. And so I said, thinking about them in every waking moment will do nothing for me because they will be gone from my life. And so why would I spend all this time trying to prove them wrong and they know nothing about it? So I decided to do something very differently and have motivation come from a positive perspective in this case. And I started thinking about the people who believed in me, like my superintendent, my family, my friends, my colleagues. And I said, I'm thinking about how many of them are counting on me to come back. My students. How many of them know that their success is tied to my success? So they want to see me win. Because when I win, they win. They were invested in my success, in the fact that I could come back from this, and they were willing to do whatever it took to get me there. And so I want you to think about this the next time someone doubts you, the next time someone questions your potential for greatness. I want you to think about putting that completely out of your head, because the people who don't believe in me, their opinions of me and my abilities, they're really none of my business. I'm going to spend all of my time thinking about people who count on me, who believe in me, who want to see me succeed, and always and every chance that I get, I'm going to prove them right. Think about that motivation. In your life, there are people who are counting on you to do what you do. You're the only one that can do it. They want to see you succeed and win because they believe in you unconditionally. They're your cheerleaders, your supporters, and they're the ones who have your back. They're the ones who need you in their lives. Why not spend all of your time and energy on proving them right for doing that? And when you make that shift, you will see, as I did, it was all that I needed to make it through. It's possibilities. But that mindset that I developed, it didn't happen overnight. It was an intentional process of working to train myself to think differently about the challenges that we face, oftentimes because things are changing and evolving around us. No 2 days are ever exactly the same, and the world is evolving and changing at a rapid pace. And for us to keep up and to not feel those feelings of overwhelm and frustration, we have to have a mindset that can help us navigate this complex landscape we're living in today. I developed a possibilities mindset. It took work. And these 4 things were the top things that I had to use to develop it. First of all, challenge limiting beliefs. Challenge limiting beliefs. I had to start with me. See, there are people around you who will limit what you can do, who will try to place limits on you. They'll even put labels on you and assume things about you without even really knowing you. But the greatest concern for me is when we allow those limits that others try to place on us become self-imposed limits on our capabilities and our chances for succeeding in life. I almost let that happen. I'm going to tell you that when I left my school district to go out to meetings outside of the district where people really did not know me, I remember this one particular statewide meeting of all the educational leaders across the state. And I was sitting at a round table with at least 25 principals. And the facilitator introduced me first as the quadruple amputee principal. before my name came the words, "Oh, this is that quadruple amputee principal." Now, the facilitator did not intend that to be something derogatory to me. He really was in awe of all I had done after I returned, but it didn't come out that way. You see, the label of being a quadruple amputee principal came even before my name. And so people at the table were looking and wondering and questioning and thinking about, wow, I wonder what she does in that school building. And as we went around the table sharing best practices as leaders, I remember one principal looked at me and said, "Do you have anything to share, Merlyna? Because I'm certain you cannot, or maybe you don't get to do everything that we get to do as principals, but are there things you're doing in your building that impact the climate and culture?" See, an assumption was made about me and my leadership because someone placed a label on me, a limit on me. And I shared, and to be very honest, I shared probably 20 more strategies than the people prior to me. And all of these were real things that I did in that school building. And I could see people in disbelief and wondering how in the world can she do that, and knowing that she has physical challenges, but they said nothing. And I kept thinking that labels become the thing that actually place this limit on us. If we own those labels, I'll be honest with you guys, I only like labels on my clothes and shoes, maybe my purses. I don't really want to wear and own a label. Because see, the label he forgot to open up with is that I'm a phenomenal woman first. And my name is Merlyna Valentine. There'll be no limits on me. Now, I remember talking about that I wanted to prove people right who believed in me. Those people didn't really know me. It wasn't that they didn't believe in me, but there were some doubters in that room. There were some people who weren't quite sure that everything I shared was exactly that way in my building. At the end of that year, I opened up the next school year and I was named Principal of the Year for my district. And a few weeks later, I was named Principal of the Year for our region, which is several large school districts. And at the end of that school year, I was named one of the top 5 principals in the state of Louisiana. Now, I hadn't yet evolved to where I am today, because I'm going to be transparent and totally honest with all of you. I was on the stage receiving that top 5 plaque, and most of those principals who were at the table with me, they were in the audience watching me. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Sometimes we do have to toot our own horn to keep our things going, right? Beep, beep. Don't let limiting behaviors and limiting beliefs become what you live up to. I reach for the sky, and every time, even if I'm a little short, I've exceeded expectations because I refuse to own labels and limits and assumptions that are placed on us for whatever reason. We got to fight through that. I've embraced a growth mindset. I've already figured out that I don't know everything in life, and I never will. And I will never stop trying to learn. I'm a lifelong learner. And my favorite, most powerful word that I use every day is the word yet. That if I have not achieved what I set out to achieve, I have not done it yet. And if you understand the growth mindset, there's lots of research out there and you need to get familiar with it, but it totally changed the way I think about life, especially having to relearn how to do everything in life again and to be able to humble myself enough to accept support and help. I allowed myself to grow and change, and I change every single day. The growth mindset tells me that it's not that I either have it or I don't, it's that I need to work hard for it. And then I needed to set meaningful goals. So when you have a possibilities mindset and you're always thinking about what's available to you and how you can succeed and exceed those expectations, you need to set meaningful goals. I had to learn that because when I went from being an amputee, basically I was horizontal for 2 years. And then I would be vertical finally when I was able to get into prosthetic legs and utilize prosthetic hands. And I remember the therapist saying, when you stand up that very first time, after 2 years, things are going to happen. Blood flow will rush to your head, possibly making you dizzy. You may feel lightheaded, and I'm going to need you to let me know so I can have you sit down. I said, oh, no way, that's not happening to me. I want to stand and walk so badly, it's not going to happen. He said, Merlyna, it's not about your will to do it. It'll be what physically happens. I said, not for me. I actually am going to take a few steps on that first time I'm standing up. You watch me, right? And I stood up that very first time I got into these legs, and in 2 seconds, I was in a chair. All of it happened to me. It wasn't just my will and determination. It was physically what happened. And then I thought to myself, wow, that was a pretty big goal. I said that I'd be walking, and I couldn't even stand for 3 seconds. But then I started going to therapy, not once, not twice, but sometimes 3 times a day, because I was on a mission and on a goal. But here's where I didn't set realistic expectations and goals. I remember going in the first week, and I said, in 3 months, I am going to walk in a 5K race in these legs. My therapist said, okay. I saw the puzzled look on his face. That would be because he knew I never walked in a 5K race before my amputations. What would make me think I now, as a quadruple amputee who has lost all of her stamina and physical strength, would be able to walk in 3 months in a 5K? And then I started thinking, if I just walk 10 steps today, I'll celebrate. That's my goal. The next day, if I can walk 25 steps, I've reached my goal. And then when I come back after lunch, if I can do 50, then I'm really headed in the right direction. You see, I had to start breaking down those big goals into more manageable, realistic, and timely goals, and celebrate every single time I reach them, because that's what kept me motivated to say now that I can be in these legs that my kids named Jack and Jill, and I can go for miles every single day. And that does not stop me from saying I still have a goal of walking in that 5K race. But I don't know when that will happen. I'm just saying. See, I'm going to be more realistic with what I do now, and you need to do the same. It's good to have big dreams and big goals, and I have many, many, many. But you also need to have those check-in goals where you say, if I accomplish this today, and this by the end of the week, and this in a month, that you will feel motivated to keep going, rather than saying, I fell short, I didn't reach it, and I give up and I quit. That's what so many of us like to do. And finally, we need to learn from our setbacks. I had not experienced much failure at the age of 41 when this happened, prior to me becoming a quadruple amputee. I'll be honest. Everything that I really wanted in life, I worked so hard for it, I got it on the first try. But in this case, I experienced failure, setbacks, and letdowns just about every single day, because everything was new for me. Every single thing that you take for granted, that I took for granted, I had to learn how to do it in a new way. And so my failures were happening so frequently that I had to find a way to process them and to not be discouraged. And then I started thinking, every time I failed or I fell short or something wasn't achieved in my timeline, I learned something from it. I learned what to do the next time and what not to do the next time. And so in all of our failures, setbacks, and times where we are challenged, there's a lesson to be learned. And that lesson is you have got to pick yourself up and keep going. There is no giving up. There is no quitting, because we have too much work to do in this world to create the world that we should deserve to live in. And it's going to take all of us. So from every setback that you experience, I expect you to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and say, I learned something by going through that, and I will not repeat it, and I know what to do next time. See, it's perseverance, that second P, that says we will not give up, even on those days where giving up seems like the best and only option. We're going to choose to keep going. That's what I had to remind myself, that inside of me is this resilience that I need to tap into every single day. Because what I know is so many of us hold on to what we think life should be. And then this is what life really is. And the more distance between those two things, the more chaotic it feels. And the easier it is for us to say, I quit, I give up, I'm throwing in the towel. Well, that will never get you what you want out of life. It will never allow you to live a life of purpose and meaning. And so I often say it's my resilience that absorbs all this chaos in the middle and allows me to say, I'm not just bouncing back after adversity, I'm propelling myself forward. But in a true, authentic, and genuine transparency right now, I have to tell you why I shared this photo with perseverance. This was one of the first times that I got a look in a full-length mirror post-amputations. And when that full-length mirror was in front of me and I realized I only needed half of it, I looked at it and I said, wow, this is me. This is going to be me for the rest of my life. This is how I will wake up in the morning. This is how I will go to bed at night. And for a moment I said, you could stay stuck here, right here, feeling sorry for yourself. Woe is me, having no plan in how you're going to come out of it. Stay stuck right here, hosting pity parties with pity snacks and pity punch. If I ask y'all to attend that party, are you coming? No. And for a moment, I stayed there. And I said, this is not the life I fought to live when I asked for that second chance at life. To feel sorry for myself because something bad happened? Well, bad things happen to good people all of the time. It'll be those of us who know how to get up after that bad thing and to keep going that will make it in life. And I kept thinking about my students who struggled and had challenges and faced adversity. How many times I told them they couldn't use the word can't and that they could never give up. Now I had to walk that talk. And I said to myself, I don't ever want to be a model to anyone that when life doesn't go as you planned it, when things don't turn out the way you hoped they would, that your only response is, I quit, I give up, this is too hard, this is too difficult, I'm going to try it another way, I'm not doing it. I could not come here or go to anyone and be that kind of a model for you. I don't want to show you what you can't do in life. I'm only here because I want to let you see what you can do in life. And so giving up was not an option for me. I had to keep going, to persevere, and to make a choice every single time that I would continue to get up and keep moving forward. That is perseverance. It begins with first accepting what you face. I accept it. I have missing limbs. They're never growing back. They're never growing back. So why would I resist the fact that it happened to me? I accepted it. And then I said, now you need to make a plan for how you will figure out what you want to do in life and be able to still do it. I had to focus on the things that I control. See, the most frustrating thing about someone who's a leader is we want to control everything so everyone else's life is good and that they can do whatever they say they need to do because I remove all the barriers. But sometimes I needed to focus more on what I control. Because when we focus on controlling the uncontrollables, we can't help but get frustrated and give up. So there were times where I thought I could control the weather because I had an outdoor event planned for my school. And the weather person would say there's an 80% chance of rain tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And I would say, no, it's not going to rain until 10:30. That's when my event ends. And as I drove to school in pouring down rain, I had to have another plan because I thought I could control the weather. And there are things that are beyond our control, but we try to control them instead of focusing on what we can control. Our thoughts, our actions, our words, our beliefs, our assumptions, our actions. Those are things we control. Start with focusing on them. And guess what? The rest of the people who witness you in all your excellence and brilliance, they start watching and they start doing exactly what you expect them to do because they want to live up to what you model every single day. And by doing that, I became the kind of leader that others chose to follow, not become someone that they were mandated to follow. So focus on what you control. That's you. Can't change anybody else. You can only change you. And then finally, I know that it is about living a life of purpose, what I call my why. It's the reason why I'm here. I know why I was put on this earth, and that was to be an educator. There's no question about it. It is who I am. It is what wakes me up still today as a retiree to say my classroom just looks a little differently. I'm still an educator. And because I never lost sight of that why, I have not lost my way, even when I face tremendous adversity. So I want you to ask yourselves, do you know why you are here? Do you know what you provide to this world that makes it a better place today than it was yesterday? Are you truly connected to doing work and to being the person that can make change and have impact in this world because of what you do every day? Do you know your why? And if that answer is no, then today is the day that I give you homework as an educator, that I want you to figure out why you're here and why you chose the path that you chose. And does it fulfill a mission that you have of purpose and meaning? And that will be the thing that will carry you through all times of adversity and challenge. When I was having a tough day, I'd go look in one of my students' faces and watch it light up because they were having a conversation with me, that I leave people better when they meet me than when I found them. And that's my goal every time. I want to be someone you look forward to seeing and not someone that you say, oh, here she comes, ready to suck the life out of this room. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I need you to know your purpose and connect with it every single day. That is how you will persevere. I want you to think about this quote that has completely shifted who I am and what I do. It says that sometimes the things we can't change end up changing us. Ooh, that's my life story. I couldn't control what happened to me. It just happened, and in an instant, I had to figure out, what do you do now? See, I could not control what happened to me, but I could control my response to it and how I would come out of it and how every day I live, because that kind of change becomes a catalyst for us, because it helps us to figure out who we are and what we can do. It is about growth and resilience, and you find that oftentimes in the midst of the biggest storm you might be going through. That's when I found me. I call myself now Merlyna 2.0. I'm the new and improved version, right? The better version, because I know truly who I am and what I bring to this world. And every single day I walk in that purpose. That is what it is about. Change will come one of two ways into your life. You can choose change, and I hope you do, because I hope if there's something that you see that isn't right, you don't stand by and let it happen. That when you see things that need to be changed, that you become the loudest voice to make that change happen. That's the change you choose. And all of us have an obligation in this world to do our part, to make it better. It's an obligation and a responsibility we better own. That's the only way things are going to change. But then what happens when change chooses us? And we aren't prepared for it. And it's unexpected. And everything about it is uncertain. We got to figure out, how do we move past those moments where we're not sure what we're going to do. Change chose me, and I had to figure out, what are you going to focus on? The fact that it happened and the tragedy of it, or how you plan to overcome it and use it now as a way to inspire others to fight through their challenges? I chose that path because I know inside all of us there has to be fear associated with change. Change can be scary, can be uncomfortable. It can push us out of our comfort zone. But I hope you know that's where you learn and grow the most. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable every day, and I love it. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm doing new things. I'm proud of myself when I get to do something I didn't think I could do. And every day I'm evolving into that better person. And that's all because I've decided change is not this ugly thing that happens to us. It is something that can bring us out of something as a better person and someone who can serve at another level. Change chose me, but I figured out I'm going to manage it. It's going to work for me and everyone that I encounter. These are things I learned by going through change. I learned that I can now be very adaptable to whatever I face. I learned new mindsets, new habits, new actions, new things I want to do. I figure out how to make it happen. And I am now okay with the fact that it might not work out on my first try, but I will not stop. We have to be able to adapt to what's going on around us and figure out how to make it work for us. I also thought about prioritizing what I do in life. There's nothing like being that close to death to make you understand what really matters in life. I don't focus on the small things anymore. And that quote about don't sweat the small stuff, I live it every day. Those little things don't bother me at all. I'm like, oh, that happened. It'll be okay. It'll work out. I'll figure it out. I focus on the major things that happen in life so that I can have a life of purpose and meaning. Prioritize what you really want to happen in life and then set a plan for how you're going to achieve it. Success doesn't happen because we trip and fall into it. You're going to need to work for it. And you're going to need to work every single day, be diligent, committed, and focused. That's what I do. And what I think going through this tragedy did for me and this change did for me is that it increased and heightened my sense of empathy. I now know what human suffering feels like and what people are going through. I don't make assumptions and judgments about people I meet. Everyone I meet, I assume there's greatness inside of them, and I treat them accordingly. We need to start doing that. And it begins with leading with empathy, compassion, and most of all, the thing that I think is missing the most, kindness. Everyone is walking in a storm. It's their own storm. Stop comparing their storm to your storm. And just know that if we're going through a storm, it's tough. And so what we need to do is figure out how to show compassion to others who may not think like us, who may not look like us, but they want what we want in life, and that is to achieve their personal best so that they can leave the world better. Empathy. I hope it's something that becomes your superpower. But for me, it was self-awareness. In knowing that I know myself better by having gone through a tragic time and facing adversity caused me to realize who I am, what I stand for, what I believe in. I found my strength. I found my tenacity, my grit. I found my determination. I found out things about myself I had no idea until I sat down and really thought about it. And I said, this is who you are. This is what you believe in. Now, every time you move, you need to act with that kind of intense purpose so others will know it. That's what change can do. And I want you to think about this part. Most people said that my students would not accept me when I return. They said maybe they won't see you as the principal again. You got many physical challenges, things you used to do with them that you may not be able to do. And I said, I'm not worried about that. Kids are the most resilient and accepting and loving people in the world. It's the adults who have all these assumptions and beliefs about people based on something that they have as their own arbitrary way of judging us, right? My kids love me more than anything, unconditionally. And this is an excerpt from one of my fifth graders who wrote this letter to me that says, when I returned, I'd been through some things. They knew it. They were there as third graders when I became ill, so they knew, they were aware of everything. But she said, I overcame huge obstacles from my tragedy. And as far as the students were concerned, I was exactly the same. Then she went on to list 12 things that I began to do when I returned that I didn't do prior to my amputations. And I guess in her journey of writing those 12 things down, she realized I was doing things I didn't do before. Not running a 5K, but other stuff, right? And she ended her letter with this. I was better as a principal when I returned than before my amputations. I want you to think about that. Fifth grade, 11 years old. She saw my possibilities, not just my disability. And because of that, I completely shifted the culture in that school for us to not just accept our differences and to tolerate them, but now we celebrated them. And because of who I am now, I get to do that for so many others. I keep things in perspective, my final P. It's a twofold. We can choose our own perspective when we face challenging moments or how we live every single day, but we got to keep things in perspective. And we have to realize there are many things that will happen around us that aren't exactly in alignment with who we do and who we are, but we can't let those things get inside of us. I have a perspective that I know that I lost a great deal. I lost my limbs. I lost my independence. I've not driven a car since August of 2007. Well, legally, that is. I did get on the road, right? I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I'm doing it the right way. But can you imagine not being able to jump in your car and go where you want to go, when you want to go, and how you want to go? 2007. I nearly lost my life and my life's work. So how is it that when I take all these L's every single day, I wake up as the most excited, enthusiastic, and determined person in the world? Here's the secret I'm going to let you in on, Prairie View A&M. Focus on what you have and not what's missing. No limbs, no problems. I focus on what I have. I have a support system like no other. People who will step into the gap and fill it for me and get me exactly where I need to be. A man I only knew for 1 year before I became ill, chose to stay. Chose to say, will you marry me? Chose to remain in my life. And when I said I'm going back as principal, I gave him the incredible assignment of being my makeup artist and hairstylist, right? And although I look like Bozo the Clown for the first few weeks, it's okay. He's come a long way. But why is that? Because you see, he made a choice and a decision to know that when things get hard, that's not the moment we walk away and throw in the towel and give up. We stay committed to what we said we would do, and we make it happen. And together we've been on that journey of making sure that we stay committed to what now has become our mission, to share this insight with everyone that we meet. Because we made a decision and a choice, we don't give up on it. You're making decisions every day. You're making choices every day. And if they are in alignment with your purpose and what you want out of life, then stay committed to that. And don't let anything blow you off course. Sure, you may have to take some detours. I take them every day. Figure out how to do new things and go new ways. But in the end, you still have that final destination. And your current situation does not have to be your final destination. If you're willing to put in the work and to stay committed to it, you're going to get there. But so many of us will give up as soon as we hit that one little bump in the road, right? Oh, that was too hard. I don't think I can do that. Whoever told you life was easy? If they did, they weren't honest with you. I just know if you live a life of purpose and meaning, life is worth it. And so every day I'm fighting for that. Every single day I keep it in perspective. Here's what I know. We've all been through some things, right? In the last few years, change chose every one of us. March of 2020. And then we were left to figure out, what do we do now? Change chose me. I didn't have any voice. I didn't have any say-so. But you have to keep the focus on this. You've made it through 100% of your worst days. You're here. Am I right? You made it through 100% of your worst days. And so you have to move into each new day with hope, optimism, and resilience. Those are the secrets to being able to face each new day, even when there's a challenging day ahead. See, Robin Roberts tells us that optimism is a muscle, and it gets stronger with use. So every day I try to figure out how to shift my thinking from what cannot happen into how do I make this happen. I'm going into this day expecting it to work out, and it will. Now, I say to myself every morning that I only have good days. That's it. Today is a good day. I only have good days. But I'm not someone who isn't in touch with reality. Having a good day does not mean nothing goes wrong. I don't ask people to downplay their challenges, to act as though they don't exist. I don't want to hear anything negative. That's not what I'm saying. What I say is I have challenges every single day, but I don't stay stuck in the challenge. I've made a decision that I will deal with it, and then I'll be able to move past it. I acknowledge every struggle, every challenge, everything that comes my way, but I make a plan for how I'm going to get out of it, because I firmly believe that when we are hopeful, things happen. We can't go into a new day looking for the problem and expect to find a solution. You can't go into something looking for what's wrong and then finding what's right. What you look for in each new day is what you will find. So start looking for what's going to work out for you and how you're going to make things happen in that day that you didn't make happen the day before. That's how you keep the right perspective about it all. And I want to end with this final story. And when I think about it, it's something that's important. When I was in that hospital in the intensive care unit, I had a ventilator in my throat for the first 3 weeks. I didn't know what was happening. I thought I had a kidney stone and the flu. My family said to the doctors, don't tell her what's going on. We don't know how she's going to react. We want to be there. We want to make sure she's prepared. And I would love for her to be able to ask questions. So we may need to wait till you remove that tube. But my family should have known I'm a nosy little thing, right? I want to know what's going on. And I figured out the only time they would talk about it honestly, the doctors, would be at night when my family was forced to leave that ICU and when they thought I was asleep. And I said, there's my window. I'm going to find out what happened, right? And so I would pretend to be asleep, so when that crew of doctors came for the overnight visit, they'd talk honestly. Be careful what you wish for, right? First night, I'm laying there, eyes closed, faking like I'm sleeping, eyes kind of blinking and trying to hold it steady. And I heard the doctor say to the other doctors, we have 16 people in the intensive care unit tonight. This lady is the sickest. And I thought, they can't be talking about me. They must be reading the wrong chart. But it was. Next night, I heard him say, we may need to call in her family tonight. Her heart is functioning at 25%. I'm not sure she's going to be here in the morning. We're going to need to watch her vitals closely and decide when we should call in her family. Not make it through the night? Is that what I heard? And so I'd watch the hour hand on the clock, hoping it would get to the 8. And saying, when 8 happens, my family will be here. And that next morning, I was there. 8 a.m., my family rushed in. A tear was falling down the side of my face. And I heard him saying, oh, she must be in pain. Oh, she's probably upset. She doesn't know what's happening. No, that was a tear of joy because I made it, and they don't know what I heard overnight, that I wasn't supposed to be here. And I was so excited. And then I said, I'm on the upward swing. Things are working out. I'm still here. And that same night, I heard the same story again. Her vitals have plummeted. We need to maybe call in her family. I don't know if she can do this 2 days in a row, pull out of this. But 8 o'clock came that next day, and I was still there. And then I started thinking in that final moment right before that 8 o'clock, first of all, it was the quietest I'd ever been. My family said it because I couldn't talk. But more than that, I started thinking deeply and reflecting, which is something you need to do. And I thought about Linda Ellis's poem, The Dash. I said, well, I had that birth year, and I know I'm going to get that ending date. But the most important part of that is that line that falls in between those 2 dates, right, called The Dash. It represents who we are and how we've lived this life. And I said, what will people remember about me if this is it? If my number on that ending date comes tonight? Have I lived a life that exemplifies who I am, what I stand for, and what I believe in? Do people really know me? Do they know I love children? Do they know I love serving others? And that I want to be an inspiration, how much I love life and my family. I don't know if I've lived that way. I've been on such a mission to achieve so much success that maybe I haven't done those things to let people know who I am, really deeply inside of me. And I said, if I get out of here, then I change it to when I get out of here, there'll be no question about what that dash represents. I'm going to live every life exactly the way I want to be remembered for. I'm going to stand for and stand up for everything that is right and just, and I'm going to make sure this world is the place that I would love to see our children and our children's children grow up in. I'm going to do my part and go above and beyond. And that's how I've tried to live every single moment. You're living your dash right now. What does your line look like? Are you making sure every day that line represents who you are, what you believe in, and what you stand for? And if it's not, today is the day you're going to make that change. You're going to realize people are making decisions about you and who you are. And I don't know about you, but when my time comes and that ending date arrives, I don't want them to have to stand up and make up stuff about me. I want it to be factual things that I did in this world that made it a better place. So live your dash. And I know right now everyone will remember this about me. When adversity happened, when things took a turn for the worse, and my life seemed like it was going to be completely blown off course into whatever land, I know this. People will remember me for this. I didn't give up. I don't want you to either. I want you to know whatever you face, you have more than the capabilities and the actual things that you need inside of you to make it through those toughest moments. That's what it's about, never giving up. And we've got to be able to say that every single day. No matter what I face, I know I can get through it. I've done it before, I'll do it again. And this time I learned from those things that I messed up on before, and I'm going to keep moving forward. I leave you with no better words for me than a song that's all about change. And knowing that if we're going to embrace change that's happening in this ever-changing world, but be able to do our part to bring about the right changes, we got to be willing to look ourselves in the face and own who we are and what we do, and then if need be, make a change. The words of the song Man in the Mirror are what resonate with me every day. I play that song every single day to remind myself of what we need to do. I'm starting with the man in my case, the woman in the mirror, I'm asking me to make a change. It begins with me. I have to be the one that it says, if I want to make the world a better place, I got to take a look at myself and make a change. That's what it's about, Prairie View A&M. Are you ready to be the change that this world needs, to do your part, to go above and beyond, to say change is not something I fear. I have capacity within me for courage, and I'm going to tap into it every single day. Let's live in a world that we help to create, a world that is better and more incredible than we could ever envision. I want to say thank you to everyone for allowing me to be on the campus of this beautiful institution of Prairie View A&M. My tour this morning has me all fired up. I'm like, I'm going to stay in purple. It's my favorite color anyway, the rest of my life. But what you do here and what you provide here, don't ever fall short of knowing who you are and what you're going after and the dreams you want to make happen. They're yours to actually make people realize that you're willing to work for it. Have an incredible day, and I appreciate you all for allowing me to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
I am the champion. You're gonna know